Verizon has a brand new budget phone called the LG Lancet. We're going to do a quick unboxing and show you what it's all about. Stay tuned. So the Verizon LG Lancet is a very interesting phone for a few reasons. One, it's another budget phone on Verizon, a carrier who's been somewhat controversial with Windows Phone in the past. The other is that this is the first LG Windows Phone we've seen in years. I think the last one was officially in 2011 or 2012. And so this is sort of a big return. Having said that, this is not exactly the most flashy device, but it is very well priced. You can get this completely free on the Edge contract there with Verizon, which is basically $5 a month for 2 years. Or you can just flat out pay $120 for it, which is actually a really good price when you consider what you're getting. Let's do the quick unboxing and we're going to take a look at the body itself. So this is the box itself. Verizon is selling this in stores or online. You can just go and pick it up. They're not a huge fan of trying to sell you this device off contract, but you can do it. Here it is. Now this is technically a blue color. It's only one color available. And it's a very dark obsidian type blue, so it has a nice shine to it. It is plastic. You get the 8 megapixel camera here on the rear, plus an LED flash speaker down below. Coming to the front here, you're looking at a 4.5-inch TFT display. That's 854 by 480 pixels. The reason why it's 854, not 800, is because this doesn't actually have any soft keys on the front. They are on the display itself, so that's the extra 54 pixels on there. Not a high-resolution display, but 4.5 inches. It's pretty good. You're going to get a tight pixel density, and that's actually what really matters. And LG is actually known for making pretty decent displays, so I'm excited to see what that's going to be like. Coming around to the side here, of course, you have your volume rocker up and down. Buttons are very nicely laid out, tactile. Coming to the top here, headphone jack and what looks to be a microphone port. Coming around to the other side, power button. I like the idea of having power on one side and volume on the others. It's less likely to be confused. Once again, it sticks out a little bit, not too much, not too little. Feels really nice to the touch itself. Nothing else on the side, and coming to the bottom here, you have another micro USB charger port there for the power, and of course you have another hole for the microphone. Pretty clean device, feels good in the hand. You can see, of course, it's got a nice rounded back to it with square edges, which is really a winning combination. Let's open it up here. To do so, you can just grab it through the USB port and it just pops the cover off. We'll get the battery out in a second here, but you can see the back of the device. Over here, micro SIM. So keep that in mind. If you're a nano SIM user, you're going to either have to try to get one of the adapters, or you're going to have to switch up the card. It does come with the micro SIM, but Verizon, of course, will need to program it for you. Now, having said that, I did try earlier to put this in the phone, and it's actually a little bit difficult to squeeze that in there, so be careful with using these adapters. It can be tricky. You also have, of course, the micro SD card slot, which goes in over here from, looks like the outside. You don't need to pop the battery in or out, which is nice. That's good because this phone only comes with 8 gigs of internal storage. You can throw in technically up to 64 gigs, although most likely 128 gigs of storage with the micro SD. Other than that though, pretty much that's it for the inside. So going back to the box now, being a US carrier, we're not going to get too much here in the way of goodies. Of course, you get your instruction booklet, warranty information, and more. Opening the box itself, you have your 2100 milliamp battery, which is a decent size. It's definitely not huge, but don't forget, this is going to be running a Qualcomm Snapdragon 410 processor, which is a newer version, and I actually really, really like it. But it's only 1.2 gigahertz, so not incredibly fast. Don't need much power, especially for a 4.5-inch display at 854 resolution. Here's your charger for the wall wart, as they like to call it. And of course, you just plug in the USB there. I've always liked these designs. And there is your USB/micro USB charger cable. Okay, we're back now and the phone has finished setting up. And so this is the default screen here for LG and Verizon's brand new Lancet phone. Now let's go over the OS here for a few reasons. So, of course, it's Windows Phone 8.1. More importantly, though, this is Windows Phone 8.1 Update 2. In fact, that is probably the reason why this phone is coming out now at this time. And there's also rumors of the Lumia 735 going to Verizon as well. And that's also probably the holdup there. So what does Update 2 bring? Well, there's a couple features. One here, of course, is the revamped settings, which looks really cool. So they finally broke it up into little groups. So you have personalization, you have account, and if you tap any of those categories, you get that nice little jump list. Definitely makes going through settings easier. You also have a search button to find things in settings. So definitely a welcome feature there. Now, interestingly, of course, this is going to likely get Windows 10 in the future, and that has a completely different setting setup as well. So you do get the latest and greatest Windows Phone 8.1 with this update, and this will very, very much likely get Windows 10 come the fall, so don't worry about that. Other than that, though, you get Microsoft standard apps here, and you do get a couple of Verizon ones, but nothing too much. And of course, everything can be uninstalled from this device, and it's not like Android where you uninstall something and it actually stays a ROM. You'll notice here LG has their own camera app, which is pretty good. We'll show you that in a moment. Here's your My Verizon Mobile, NFL Mobile. That's exclusive to Verizon. If you're a big fan of the football in the United States, you'll definitely want that app. Quick Memo is another LG app. I'll show you that one in a few seconds as well. And of course, you have some storage sense, travel, voicemail, and Verizon Navigator are also two Verizon apps. Not much in the way in terms of bloatware, but like I said, if there's anything here you don't like, you can just uninstall it. Speaking of, let's see if we can actually, I'll show you how the search works. So we'll do storage sense. Now, although this has 8 gigs, you can see 3.4 gigs are already used, leaving you just under 4 gigs of actual free. So it's an 8 gig device, but yeah, 3.5 gigs are taken up by the OS and those apps. So you don't have much room at all. You'll definitely want to take advantage of that SD card and pop that in there to gain more space back. You can, of course, install apps and everything else to the SD card, so no worries there. The OS itself, though, very good. Like I said, this has Qualcomm Snapdragon 410 in there, which has a new faster GPU, and I like it a lot. Honestly, I can't tell the difference between this and some of the other apps out there, or sorry, the other Windows phones out there with the older, higher end S4 chipsets. Things just work very, very quickly. You're not going to be able to do necessarily a lot of the high-end games. All this does have, of course, 1 gig of RAM on board, so you will be able to play everything. But in terms of performance, it feels really, really nice. I really don't have any complaints about it whatsoever. So when it comes to the display of this device, once again, we're looking at a 4.5-inch TFT 854 by 480 pixels, and it's a pretty good display. Actually, it's, you know, for a $120 smartphone, this is probably one of the best displays I've seen, and that's actually not too surprising. LG and Samsung are probably two of the most prominent display makers around. Now, I should point out one big thing here that I'll talk about displays. This does not have an ambient light sensor. It does have a proximity sensor, but not ambient light. That means under settings, you got to basically set the brightness manually. And so that's kind of a pain and, you know, a little bit of a letdown. There is no auto function there. So just keep that in mind. That is one of the reasons why this is a $120 phone. But other than that, you're getting a very good, high quality display, I would say, and very good performance with that latest Qualcomm Snapdragon CPU in there. Let's go once again into settings real quickly here, and I want to show you some LG extras that you may not know about. Backup Assistance Plus is actually part of Verizon, so that comes standard. This does have a thing called Knock On, which if you have used a Lumia before, you'll be very familiar with. It basically just does this. Allows you to turn on the display with just tapping it. And you can enable or disable that. I'm actually a big fan of that, and it's kind of weird. You get used to it very quickly, and if you don't have a phone with it, it's kind of frustrating. You do also have block mode, so this is for SMS and call blocking. That's not really a big deal, but still very nice to have for those of you who need it. Going around to the front here, and we can see there's LG camera and then Quick Memo. Both are LG exclusive things. So here is the LG camera app. Now, of course, you can use the regular camera app if you so desire, but this is the LG one. So it's a 8 megapixel, which is nothing crazy, and this camera is not going to be the most amazing camera around, but once again, $120 smartphone, that is kind of what you get. So you get a nice tap to focus there. Let's see if we can. There you go, it takes the photo. It does have some cool features too, so you do have settings, and you can bring those up. You can turn your grids on or off. You have a timer. You have the voice activation. Let's see if that actually works. Whiskey. And as you can see, it took the photo. So yeah, it has some basic commands. You can tell cheese. See, that works as well. So and during when you first run this camera app, it's going to give you instructions and show you what you can do for that. But yeah, you can do voice activation, which is actually really nice. And for selfies, you can also enable that to auto take a photo. So we're going to switch our camera. Speaking of switching, you can tap the icon up at the top of the screen, but perhaps more conveniently, you can just swipe across or swipe up and it'll rotate the camera. And you can see Mark there filming, and of course there I am. But this is kind of neat. Put your hand up. It recognizes your open palm, and when we do this, it takes the photo. So gimmicky, yes, but also pretty useful. And it's nice to see LG bringing some innovation from the Android devices over to Windows Phone. And the camera app, like I said, is pretty decent. You do get some other settings here as well. So by default, it actually does the full widescreen image, which it's going to take up the whole display here, but that is only, there's going to be less than 8 megapixels. So if you want to do the full 8, it's going to, of course, crop it a little bit. That's fine. I have no problems with that. And same with video. It can do full HD for video. Not too much in the way, though, of a lot of options, but pretty decent camera app for what you're getting. And you do get a flash plus front-facing camera. Can't complain much there. Let's take a look at Quick Memo, which is actually a pretty neat little note-taking device. This was actually when I was playing around with earlier, so you can erase stuff. I'm not sure if you can make it bigger, and you can see it takes a little while. I'm not even really sure how to clear the whole screen or start a new one, but then what you do is you choose a pen and you can basically take notes. And with my terrible handwriting, it's actually a pretty good app, and you can do things with different photos and save it and change the background, all that. Pretty useful, although if you use OneNote, you probably may find that more interesting, but once again, nice option to have. If you don't like it, uninstall it. So there you go. That's a quick look at the LG Lancet, now available at Verizon. Like I said, it's $120. The quality of the device, I'm going to say the hardware is actually really good. For 120 bucks, you really cannot go wrong with this. It's a very well-made device. Feels great in the hand, feels great to hold. It's small, compact, ergonomic. It seems like it has all the right performance features. Sure, it doesn't have the brightness sensor, which I would have really liked to have, the ambient light, but you know, I can't complain too much when it comes to the price. And overall, you're getting the latest version of Windows Phone 8.1, and this will get Windows 10 later this year. So if you're looking for a budget phone on Verizon, this is definitely one to definitely consider. Head to your local Verizon store to check it out yourself, or just order one online. Leave us a comment and tell us what you think, and if you want to see more LG phones come out with a Windows Phone operating system. Take care, everybody.